The Christmas break did not fix what has been ailing the Boston Bruins, and their New Year's resolution has to be improving on defense.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Ian McLaren. I am a lifelong Boston Bruins fan, and I've been covering this team and the NHL for various outlets for nearly 20 years. Today is Monday, December 29th, and we have a lot to talk about today, including the Bruins' 4-1 loss to the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday. We'll discuss what went wrong and what they tried to address in practice on Sunday before flying to Calgary for the remainder of this current road trip. We'll also touch on Will Zellers, James Hagens, and their success so far at the World Junior Championship. That and much more here on today's episode. I just want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine in 2025. And I very much appreciate each and every one of you who make this part of your day. All right, let's get into it. The Bruins stumbled into the pre-Christmas section of their schedule, going 1-3-1 on a 5-game homestand that could have really padded their standing in terms of the Eastern Conference playoff race. Now, however, they enter tonight's game, I think just 1 point actually up on last place in the Atlantic Division because the Maple Leafs lost last night against the Detroit Red Wings. The Bruins have 41 points. They are stuck at 526, which is tied for worst point percentage in the Atlantic Division because the Leafs have one fewer point, but one game in hand. So the Bruins are really stumbling, and they have now the worst goal differential in the Atlantic Division as well, and really falling out of playoff contention here. They're only 1 point back of a wild card spot, and they're now 5 points back of third place Montreal in the Atlantic Division, with Florida and Ottawa above them, as well as the Buffalo Sabres, who have rocketed up the standings, 8 wins in a row, including this 4-1 win over the Bruins on Saturday. Pavel Zacha said it after the game. The division is so close. We really have to start winning games, and this is something we have to focus on moving forward. I mean, sure. It just wasn't good enough today, meaning Saturday. We really have to figure out how to respond to this loss. That's something that they said pretty much after each of the losses on the homestand as well. They did get off to a good start. Pastrnak put the Bruins up 1-0 in the first period off a pass from Morgan Geekie. You love to see that. But afterwards, the Sabres scored 3 unanswered, added a 4th into the empty net, and it just shows once again that the defense has not been good enough. Hampus Lindholm, one of the best defensemen on the team, allegedly said we had periods where we played really well. We had periods where we did not. We just have to stick to a 60-minute game together. We know we've shown in each game that we can be successful and push teams back. We just have to be doing it more consistently. Sean Corrali kind of saying the same thing. We want to play with energy. We want to play for passion. For whatever reason, it's a little harder for us right now, but we've got to get back to that, and we'll find a way to. Sure. Marco Sturm said, Saturday, since the start to the finish, was not a good day. Not what they wanted. But you know what? It's over. We have to analyze this one today, have to move forward because it's not going to get easier. It's definitely more on us now to get back to our foundation, he said, back to our game. Starts with a good practice on Sunday. We'll discuss what happened at practice a little later on. Hopefully a good game in Calgary, which will take place tonight. But one of the main things for the Bruins this season is the defensive play. It just has not been good enough. And while the Bruins haven't struggled to score and the goaltending overall hasn't been terrible, the reason why they're struggling is just giving up too many shots against, too many high danger opportunities, and of course, putting themselves on the penalty kill way too often. If you look at save percentage 5-on-5, the Bruins are actually 13th in the NHL, which is middle of the pack, and that's with Joonas Korpisalo having, like a league minimum save percentage. He started the game on Saturday. I mean, he played okay. The goals weren't necessarily on him, and he did make some big saves to keep the Bruins in it. But overall, the defense just has not been there. We look at PDO, right, which is save percentage and shooting percentage at 5-on-5, and teams usually, if you're above 100, you're, playing pretty well and also getting some good, what we call puck luck, which is maybe a higher than usual save percentage or shooting percentage. If you're under 100, you generally maybe are having some bad luck. You're not getting the shooting percentage, which generally averages out around 10%, save percentage around 90%. For the Bruins right now at 5-on-5, their PDO is exactly 100, which puts them right in the middle of the pack, 14th in the NHL. 934 shooting percentage, a 90.6 save percentage. So this is kind of what they are. And the big issue is defensive play. And I don't mean to pick on one particular player, but the Andrew Peeke experiment is not working. He's an unrestricted free agent coming up this offseason. And if there's even a call asking about him for any type of pick or prospect or whatever, then you answer it and you really listen to what this other team is offering. This guy has take out Vladislav Kolyachuk, who's only played a couple of games. He's been on the ice for 1 goal against and 0 goals for. But other than him, at 5-on-5, nobody has a worse goal differential while on the ice than Andrew Peeke. He's been on the ice for 19 goals for and 34 against, which is a 36% goals for differential. And he's been often paired with Hampus Lindholm, who isn't much better at 37.8% goal differential while he's on the ice. 17 for, 28 against. That's pretty bad. And if you look at, the players who have been more successful, like Nikita Zadorov, 57.4% goal differential while he's on the ice. 31 for, 23 against. Charlie McAvoy is 23 for, 21 against. You have even Mason Lohrei, who is often maligned as the weakest defender on the Boston Bruins. He's at 51.35%, 19 for, 18 against. And it's just not good enough for that Peeke Lindholm pairing. They need to be separated, and the Bruins, Andrew Peeke, I don't believe should be part of the long-term future of this team. And if they can get anything for him coming up near the deadline, then that's a guy that you certainly try to move out. On the flip side, you look at Jonathan Aspirot, who I didn't really know much about coming into the season. And if you did, good on you. But most people, I would probably say, didn't really know who this guy was. He's played in 19 games so far for the Bruins. He's been on the ice for 13 goals for and only 6 against, which is a 68.42 goal differential. Victor Soderstrom, who was sent down to Providence because he was getting up to his waiver eligibility cutoff, which is like 10 games, 30 days up with the team. He was at 75%, 6-4, 2 against. Soderstrom plays on the right side. I would love to see him back up over Peeke. We have Aspirot, who's hopefully coming back soon. He was at practice with the Bruins on Sunday, and it's time that the Bruins make some changes on defense, to be sure. We'll talk about him coming back and what changes they may make for tonight's game against the Calgary Flames here as the podcast continues. There's absolutely nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is completely different. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets. Long queues, endless screens, prices changing at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few steps. You can pull up the Game Time app, check out upcoming NHL games, and I was surprised how easy and fast it is to find great seats. The app is incredibly easy to use, and one of my favorite features is the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what you're getting when you arrive at the arena. I really like the fees that are included up front, so the price you see is the price you pay. Knowing tickets are backed by the Game Time guarantee gives real peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day in 2025. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network this year. And if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to check out our new Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Boston Bruins, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, every other major podcast app. I use Pocket Casts myself. You also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. Go to lockedonbruins.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. So the Bruins are in Calgary tonight to take on the Flames. Before they left, they had a practice at KeyBank Arena in Buffalo, and kind of a one where Marco Sturm was trying to push the right buttons and get these guys back on track. Morgan Geekie said it was a good practice. They got away from their game a little bit. Understatement. Kind of slipped over the last few, especially before the break. It was good. Sunday, just to hammer in on some things that we felt were kind of fading, he said, just to get back to our structure and the systems we rely on. I failed to mention the Sabres on Sunday were without Rasmus Dahlin, who is their captain, one of their best players along with Tage Thompson. And the fact that the Bruins were not able to do much against a Sabres team playing without him shows you how much this team is struggling right now. And it's also telling that we are patiently waiting for Jonathan Aspirot to come back into the lineup. He joined the Bruins for the road trip, was a full participant in Sunday's practice. He has not played since December 11th after suffering an upper body injury in a game against the Winnipeg Jets. He said he was happy to be out there, happy to be with the boys. He's been working hard in the gym, getting in early, getting some treatment, working on himself as much as possible. And this guy who signed a 1-year, 2-way deal with the Bruins in July, he was recalled from Providence in late October, skated in 19 games before getting hurt, 1 goal, was averaging about 16 minutes of ice time per night. And again, has one of the best on ice goal differentials on the Boston Bruins. He's been on the ice for 13 goals for and 6 against at 5-on-5. If you kick it up to all strengths, we can see what Aspirot has done. His goals for differential is 15-9, so 62%. He's been on the ice for 15 goals for, 9 against in all situations for the second highest goal differential total on this team. Behind Victor Soderstrom, who's at 6-4, 3 against in all situations. Mason Lohrei's number 3 on this team. Yeah, he's got pretty sheltered minutes, got a lot of offensive zone starts. The guys who are further down the list are carrying more of the defensive responsibilities. Andrew Peeke has a defensive zone start percentage of, he's got 163 defensive zone starts, which is one of the highest on the team, or lowest, offensive zone faceoff starts on the team. But Aspirot has the 4th lowest offensive zone start on the team. Nikita Zadorov is the lowest, and they have both achieved positive goals differentials so far while on the ice. Well, Zadorov, he plays a lot of penalty kill minutes, so he's under 50%, but much better than Peeke, who's at 30%. 23 goals for, 53 against, which is by far the highest of any defenseman on this team. So getting Aspirot back will be a real bonus for the Boston Bruins. Henry Jokiharju also on the trip. He practiced on Sunday. He's been out since November 28th. No timeline on when either could return, but obviously good to have them with the team. The Bruins in practice were trying to focus on what made them successful during a string where they won 5 of 6 before this recent slump. It's been a while, Sturm said, since they had a practice like they had on Sunday. Hopefully guys got the message that was delivered, and the only chance they have to be a good hockey team is to make sure they're all on the same page. Geekie, of course, leads the Bruins with 25 goals. He had an assist on Saturday night. He's likely going to finish this calendar year as the highest goal scorer in the NHL. He said, it's a tough schedule, but everybody's in the same boat. Everybody is a bit worn down physically, mentally in the games before Christmas. But that's just the way it is this year with the compressed schedule. And in an attempt to shake things up, the Bruins changed the lines for probably tonight's game against the Flames. They did it in practice. We'll see if they stick, but they had a third line of Murat Husnudinov, Fraser Minten, and David Pastrnak, who had some success earlier on when there were some injuries, or right when Pastrnak came back. Alex Steeves moved to the first line alongside Elias Lindholm, Morgan Geekie, and these are combinations that they have used before and that were successful at times. The second line sticking together with Middlestat, Zaka, and Victor Arvidsson. Husnudinov, Minten, and Pastrnak were put together on December 9th in a game against the Blues, combined for 6 points, and it's hoped that this will help get Fraser Minten going as well. Sturm said there haven't been too many times when Minten was on his list because of a bad mistake. They're very lucky to have him, he said. His game is getting better and better. He's one of the guys that does little things right. Doesn't necessarily show on the score sheet, but it affects his line mates and the guys who are on the ice. Sturm said he's very impressed with him, and we could see some more offensive contributions from him while also pairing him with David Pastrnak and seeing if that can help get the team going. The Lindholm, Geeky, Pastrnak line hasn't hit like it did last season. And the hope is by spreading out the offense, they'll have a better shot at penetrating the opposition's defense and being able to also suppress the opposition as well. So that's the look for tonight's game in Calgary. We will take a look at the tail of the tape heading into tonight's game, as well as give a bit of an update on the Bruins' top prospects at the World Juniors. All that coming up here as the podcast continues. Bruins Flames tonight in Calgary. It's a huge game for the Bruins against one of the poorer teams in the NHL so far this season. The Flames are 29th in terms of total points this season, 474 point percentage, which is also 29th in the NHL. And while they are 7-3 over their past 10 games, coming off a win, they're obviously a beatable team. The Bruins obviously have some familiarity with the Flames. They have two guys who started the season with them last year in Zadorov and Elias Lindholm, and perhaps also a guy the Bruins could really use in Rasmus Andersson. The Flames 16, 18, and 4. They are coming off a win over the Edmonton Oilers, which is pretty impressive. They also recently beat Vegas prior to the holiday break, but they also lost to the Oilers in between those two games. Goaltending wise, Devin Cooley with a .914 save percentage for this team. Dustin Wolf at .897. Jeremy Swayman's dropped to .901. He'll likely get the start tonight. Honestly, I'd go him against Calgary and Edmonton, and then save Korpisalo for the game coming up this weekend against the Vancouver Canucks. Michael Backlund is hot for the Flames. He's got 7 points, including 4 goals in their past 4 games. Mackenzie Weegar with 4 assists. Bruins led in points over the past 5 by Charlie McAvoy, who's got a goal and 3 assists. David Pastrnak with only 2 goals. He needs to get going a little bit here, as does Morgan Geeky. I mean, it's been very few games where these guys have actually slumped, but Geeky hasn't scored since the 20th. That's 3 straight games. He's only got 1 assist over that span. David Pastrnak, he's been chipping in. Obviously, he scored in that game against Buffalo, but he's only got 2 goals in his past 5 games as well, although he is on a 3-game point streak. The Flames, 32nd in the NHL on the power play, whereas the Bruins are 5th. So that's an area where the Bruins can take advantage. Bruins penalty kill has slipped to 19th. The Flames are a bit better at 17th. Goals for per game. This team is 28th. The Flames averaging only 2.61 goals per game. The Bruins offense, not bad. 14th, 3.1 goals per game, but they're allowing 3.31, which is 24th in the NHL. This team regularly gives up 3+ goals. They're scoring 3+. They have to tighten up the defense and or make some changes to the defensive alignment of this team. And really, like I said, Andrew Peeke has been a weak point on this team. Not to pick on him specifically, but that Lindholm Peeke pairing is just not working. And something has to be done there to make a change. The Bruins do need help on the right side. And there is a guy on waivers today who is a perfect candidate to be picked up by the Bruins. Ethan Bear. He had a 10-goal, 36-assist campaign with the AHL's Hershey Bears last season. He was signed to a 1-year, 2-way contract by the New York Islanders. He's had a wrist injury, put on waivers for the purpose of assignment to Bridgeport. But, I mean, anytime you have an opportunity to add a Bear to the Bruins, you should look at it. And I think that's a real opportunity for the Bruins to shore up their defensive depth on the right side, which is a huge need for this team, especially if they move Peeke out. All right, that aside, the Bruins have a real opportunity to beat the Flames tonight. and hopefully they're able to get the job done because it's not going to get any easier. They played the Oilers on New Year's Eve. Then they have the rivalry game against the Canucks. Jake DeBrusk, healthy scratched for their next game, I should add. And you can bet he said he was embarrassed by that, pissed off. You can bet he'll be looking to make an impression against the Bruins coming up on Saturday. But we'll preview that one, of course, later on in the week. Now, we can't not touch on the World Juniors and the play of Will Zellers and James Hagens so far for Team USA. Zellers was a late addition to Team USA, which is pretty crazy considering the fact that he co-leads the tournament so far in goals with 3 goals in 2 games, tied with Thomas Trenko of Slovakia and Rupe Vestarinen from Finland. Head coach for Team USA, Bob Motzko, said Zellers is a greasy goal scorer. He's gained more confidence at Nodak this season as he was going, University of North Dakota, and that's why they added him. Right from day one, they saw it, and he has been unbelievable. He should have been in the mix from the very get-go. Freshman season of NCAA hockey at the University of North Dakota, first World Juniors, and he scored what turned out to be the game winner against Switzerland and has been just fantastic. So fun to watch. He's got great spirit. Motzko said nothing is going to faze him. If he gets shorted a few shifts, he's ready to go. Guys like that score goals like that. What a find he was for Don Sweeney and co. Charlie Coyle and like a 5th going to Colorado for Casey Middlestat, Will Zellers, and a 2nd-round pick that they used for Will Moore. What a trade that was and is shaping up to be for the Bruins long-term. James Hagens, who was selected 7th overall by the Bruins at the 2025 draft, no slouch either. He has recorded points in both games for Team USA, and he is sitting right now at where is he on the list? You have to go a bit further down to find Hagens, but he has been a very key player, obviously, for Team USA. And while he's not, among the leaders in points so far for Team USA, he's been integral to their success so far. He had an assist in the game against Germany. He had an assist in the game against Switzerland, setting up a Brody Zimmer goal with a drop pass. He was part of the gold medal winning Team USA and the World Junior Championship last year, looking for that same success. And of course, both players integral so far to Team USA. Hagen said it's an honor to be able to represent your country. You're a leader on the team, a guy that people go to, and they'll be back in action tonight, taking on Slovakia at 6 p.m. So a nice doubleheader for Bruins fans. 6 p.m., USA, Slovakia, and then Bruins, Flames at 9 p.m. There's so much I still wanted to talk about today. I haven't shown you guys this 2011 Stanley Cup Champions mug that Lauren, my wife, got me for Christmas. I wanted to do like a review of Heated Rivalry, which we watched over the holidays, which was so good. I'll try to get to that at some point before the year is over. But for today, we had to focus on the Bruins, their defensive deficiencies, the pairing of Lindholm and Peeke that is just not working. Hopefully, and I wouldn't have said this even a couple months or weeks ago, but hopefully the Bruins can get Jonathan Aspirot back into the lineup soon because he has been a real anchor for this team on the blue line this season, coming out of nowhere. And while he is a left shot and the Bruins need help on the right side, it's just McAvoy and Peeke right now as like right-hand shots. Mason Lohrei is playing over there sometimes as Kolyachonok. But for me, Peeke, move him out. as soon as possible. Yoki Haru, they still have for 2 more seasons. He'd be harder to move, but Peeke could use a seat, in my opinion. And ideally, you'd have Zadorov, McAvoy, Lindholm, I don't know, Aspirot, and then Lorai, Yoki Haru. Consider picking up Ethan Bear. I would really like to see the Bruins make that move today. Keep an eye on the waiver wire announcement coming up this afternoon. Thank you for tuning in today to Locked On Boston Bruins. On tomorrow's episode, we will cover whatever happens tonight for the Bruins as well as Team USA. We will also update the Atlantic Division power rankings. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Boston Bruins on YouTube and your favorite podcast so you never miss a thing. You can find the podcast as well on socials at Locked NHL Bruins. Don't forget about the Everydayer Club, ad-free episodes of the show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be accessed through lockedonbruins.supercast.com. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel next. On your audio feeds, make sure you make your second listen the NHL Game Night podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you all had a great Christmas, Boxing Day, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. And I hope you're taking care of yourselves, taking care of each other. Stay safe out there. The weather up here is crazy. And we'll talk to you again here on the next episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network.